This tells the story of Harriet Tubman, and in case you're unfamiliar with who that is, she was one of the prominent figures in the Underground Railroad back in the 1800s. And in case you don't know what that is, it was an organization, a movement, mainly focused on freeing slaves from the southern states of the US. And yeah, this follows her as she makes her own journey to freedom, and tells the story of how she got involved with that movement and all of that. Of course, there's quite a bit more to it as well, but that's the general gist of it. Now, I personally didn't know very much at all about her or her story, so this was more or less all new to me. However, I didn't feel like it really brought many surprises either. Nothing really made me go, well, I didn't see that coming, which probably wasn't the point either. But as far as the narrative goes, it's fairly straightforward and nothing too complex. And I do think it's a story worth telling about a very brave and determined woman. I also have to mention that to this day, every time I watch a movie about slavery, it still kinda blows my mind that that was an actual thing, and fairly recently too. I mean, the whole concept is just so absurd, and it just makes me so angry every time. So as far as that went, this one definitely got me riled up too, and I definitely felt for the people in this. So on that level, this definitely worked, and I think most of that came down to some solid acting. Because, well, as a whole, I don't think this was all that great of a movie. Now, I will say it looked decent, I'm not gonna complain about the visuals. Although they definitely didn't stand out as being anything amazing either. And when it comes to the writing, I thought it felt a bit stiff and clunky at times. Not as far as the story itself went, but more when it came to the dialogue. Now, I wouldn't go as far as to call it bad either, but again, it just didn't really manage to impress me. Which I guess brings me to the one thing that did stand out as being a bit subpar. And that was the score, because at times it could be genuinely bad. Most of the time it just felt a little bit cheesy and generic, and sometimes it was pretty good actually. But at other times it was actually bad, and overall it was a little bit all over the place. Very inconsistent, almost like several different people had been in charge of it. It just lacked any sort of cohesive feel, and yeah, sometimes it was straight up bad. Which I would say is unusual in this day and age. I very rarely complain about the score, because most of the time it's either sort of invisible or it's good enough to stand out. But here it ended up dragging the movie down a notch, which was a shame. However, even if the score had been great, the movie would have still been rather mediocre. I mean, most of it I was fine with, nothing except the score really bothered me. Even the dialogue was just okay and could have been better, but it wasn't awful. And that was really the overall impression I got from this movie. It's okay, but nothing special. And as I said, I think it's a worthy story about an exceptional person. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, the execution just ended up being rather mediocre. Now, with that being said, would I recommend this? I mean, maybe. Especially if you're a bit ignorant like me and want to know more about Harriet Tubman. But if you're looking for an exceptional movie, this one's fairly safe to skip. Or you could do whatever you feel like. After all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel, because that would be fantastic. And if you'd like, you can also support me on PayPal or Patreon through the links in the description. And as always, I appreciate you and thanks for watching.